Well, first of all, thank you to Run River North for being here with us today on the roof of KGW.
Thanks for having us.
I mean, how's it been? How's the tour been so far?
Good. It's at the last two shows, so we're not dead, and we made it here. Yeah.
Just to get everyone who hasn't maybe heard of you guys yet, describe your sound in your own words. I mean, your music, your stylistically, what you guys are doing right now.
Right now, it feels very much like I guess indie, pop, rock, beats, dancey, some acoustic, some electric.
All the things.
Yeah, all the
things. Yeah. And so when you guys were first coming up on the scene, you were kind of calling yourselves Monsters Calling Home.
We were, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about maybe the meaning behind that name and why the change to Run River North when you did change.
Monsters Calling Home was based on the song Monsters Calling Home that I wrote, and it was just about being an immigrant kid coming to terms with my immigrant parents and figuring out that kind of story might resonate outside of just my own. And then we changed because of Monsters and Men. So, yeah, I know.
Did that resonate with you guys? Were you feeling that name too?
Absolutely. I think we didn't expect that story to be felt across not just even Asian Americans, but just a lot of people. And it's like a folk tale almost that everyone can cling on to. So it's a great song.
Yeah.
And we all rallied behind it.
Yeah.
And then, so is there a meaning behind Run River North?
Yeah, I think I wasn't that, we just liked, I wrote another song called Run River Run. We thought maybe that could be the title, and then when we added North, it was like, oh, that's a cool direction.
Yeah.
And then surprisingly, we just ended up writing a lot of songs with up in it, so kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like a good name.
And then, so you said you wrote that title, well, I guess not the title track because it wasn't the name of the album, nor was the name of the band at the time.
Yeah.
But so was a lot of that, feeling of being an immigrant and coming, is there a lot of that symbolism within that album, within that first album, that self-titled album?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just in the artwork, in the lyrics, even in the instrumentation too. There's a lot of violin, which is something that, as a Korean kid, you're either forced to play or of a friend that's plays it. So even just having that, I think being a Dash American, it's just kind of written all over because we're writing and playing from our live stories, so it's inevitably going to come up one way or another.
Yeah, and then the new EP that just came out, Monsters Calling Home Volume 1.
Yeah.
I mean, are you guys trying to transition back into that name at all, or?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think we really wanted to, but I think we're learning how important the Run River North name is, and also just finding different ways to give homage to the Monsters Calling Home story.
Yeah, cool. And so, between your first album and your second album, and even the EP that came out after that, there was a bit of a transition there.
Yeah.
I mean, stylistically, musically, it was very folky, indie. I mean, it's all still very indie, but a lot more acoustic, and again, a lot more strings in the first album.
Yeah.
Talk us through a little bit of that transition between those albums.
Yeah, Sally, talk us through that.
I think we spent a period of time just like renting out a rehearsal studio and just like really buckling down on like, okay, we need to write songs, and what are we going to do to like make songs that we like. Alex picked up an electric instead of an acoustic, and in the midst of a lot of like good and bad things coming out, I think the music kind of encapsulated that time.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of like butting heads, but also a lot of wanting to also like surrender, and like I think a lot of the songs kind of tell that story, what happened.
Cool. Yeah.
So it kind of became a little bit more like, it was a lot more dramatic, a lot more, yeah, like in your face.
Were there things that prompted those? I mean, you said there's a lot of good and bad and dramatic. I mean, were there some events that particularly prompted that transition?
I think in the second album we were just trying to figure out, because we had such a good high from the first album, getting on Jimmy Kimmel.
Unfortunately, there's no concert here, but the truth is, there never really was supposed to be a concert here. You are booked as the musical guest on Jimmy Kimmel Live. We picked this location because Jimmy Kimmel is across the street, and that's where you're going right now. Congratulations!
Touring off of that, not realizing how tough touring is, and then coming back from that, just realizing that it's being in a band is a lot more than just making music. It's about communicating and kind of living life with people that, you know, see more of you than most people would in their lifetime. And I think, and then when you're not, you know, stepping up at a quick pace, like we still aren't in a bus level, so we're still driving each other around. We're still having to like be in very close spaces, and before it was 6 of us, so it's just 6 different people's agenda and goals and intentions about what being in a band is, what being, you know, like everyone's trying to find themselves in the music and in their own skin. So there was bound to be a lot of butting heads, and I think the fact that you see 3 of us here shows that not all relationships end, you know, together.
So that's another point. Maybe it wasn't the next point, but I mean, you were 6 when you started. You're now 3. Kind of, what was the reasoning behind that? People leaving, and now where you are, and
I think you're gonna find out things that you don't like about people, and then
especially when you're trapped in a car with them.
And then you got to decide whether it's something that you want to work on, or if you don't want to work on. And we have plenty of opportunity to choose, and plenty of outlets to do that. And if they don't service somebody, this doesn't work out.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I mean, basically kind of what Rear View is talking about too. Yeah, and those relationships and whether you want to continue to pursue them or not. Yeah. Okay, so then once those band members left, that was around the time your second album came out. Is that correct?
About a year after.
Yeah. And then you released that EP. There's a noticeable lack of strings in the second album. I would say. I mean, was that kind of on purpose? Was your violinist on the way out at that point, or?
She had expressed a desire to play like more traditional band.
Okay.
So like she wanted to play guitar. She started playing guitar more on the set.
Yeah.
I think we're all just exploring.
Right, like what we wanted.
Yeah.
Figuring it out along the way.
Yeah, I think we wanted everyone to feel like that they were participating in the way that they wanted to, rather than, oh yeah, since our first album had violins, let's make sure to have violins next time.
Yeah.
So I think people were just voicing their own, I don't know, musical perspective.
Yeah,
Sure.
And it didn't include violins.
Not too much.
And then, so when we now get into the latest EP, a noticeable introduction of the drum machine and more synth and more dance beats and stuff that you guys were talking about. Is that just how you're feeling at the moment? Is that like...
Yeah. I think, just practically speaking, there's no drummer here, so that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we're feeling a little light, not as burdensome with so many cooks in the kitchen, so we're just trying to figure out, you know, it's exhausting to be angry all the time, and it's better, I think, for us, healthier, just to find movement and joy and hope, even when, you know, you're legitimately angry at something.
Yeah.
And it's way more healthy for us in our life, and just like as a band to be, to find a little bit of positivity, and not like blatant ignorance of like what's wrong with the world or what's broken, but just holding that together. So
the addition of your vocals. I mean, some of the lyrics are different too. Talk to us. What prompted to start writing the second version of that song?
It was just a fortunate accident. We were working with our producer and friend Miro Mackey, and it was like late one night, and we were trying to figure out what to do with Casino. Is there a way to change it? And as Daniel and Miro were working on like synths and like guitar lines, Miro was like, "Oh, what if you like took a verse, you know, or tried singing?" I was like, "Okay, sure." And it was like, we stayed there for a while, and then I think we were all delirious at one point, like, I don't know if this is gonna work. And then I was sitting on the floor, and then he was like, Miro was handing me the mic, he's like, "Just sing, whatever." And I was like, "Okay." And then I sang, and then everyone was like, "Oh, like this is different. Like this has such a different feel to it."
Yeah, when your verse comes in, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
kind of gives you the little tingles. It's like, oh shit, that's good. All right, yeah. So kind of getting a little deep on this one. We were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Before we started shooting. In your bio, it says the song Casino, right? It was inspired by your mother's cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
Was this the first song that was kind of influenced by that?
No, I think 29 was kind of the precursor. It wasn't, at the time when I wrote 29, I was 29 obviously, and I didn't know we didn't know my mom had cancer, and then so when I turned 30, and then I got, the 29 song was like, you know, what happens if, like, is this worth it? What happens if we all die tomorrow? And then all of a sudden that same year, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And then the song itself, I mean, I wasn't expecting to write a song about cancer. I think it was just, like, I thought of casinos as this metaphor of, you know, an illusion of, like, good things and celebration all the time if you put in enough money somewhere, and that felt like what people thought about with terminal illness. Like, you just kind of like pray for the best and you give positive vibes, and hopefully doctors know what they're doing, but in the end, you know, it just reminds you how you're gonna die one day. So and then I think it just made it a little more real. And I think when it did, I think rather than being scared about it, it just gave me a space to be honest with how I felt. And at the end of it, it made death seem a little less scary. It didn't make it less real. It just made it, you know, I didn't have to like run away from it. I just knew that it was inevitable. So what do you do with that inevitability? And so Casino just like, admits kind of just what the illusion feels like.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my mother was diagnosed and passed away. Growing up was a big song for me, and it just felt like really in the moment that made sense. What's some of the symbolism behind the song growing up? I mean, any of you really? It seemed to me that seemed to really strike a chord in that realm. I mean, I don't know if you guys feel the same way about that song, but.
I don't know, I think for me I wrote it because I wanted to say it was a conversation between like 80-year-old Alex talking to 15-year-old Alex, and then seeing what that dialogue would be like. And I guess we wrote it in a way that was still open-ended, and it didn't like tell you what you needed to do or what you shouldn't have done. And I think maybe that created the space for people to, you know, find their story in it. And I think having all of our vocals and harmonies kind of like, it made it so it didn't seem like I was preaching a message.
So what can we expect for next from you guys? Monsters Calling Home Volume 2? Is that a thing? Is that coming out?
Yeah, we already have songs that we've been playing on this tour that we hope to put onto the Volume 2.
Yeah.
And we'll play one today as well too.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
But we're immediately starting next Monday getting back into the studio to record Volume 2.
Oh, wow. Is that going to be a full length, another EP?
Probably another EP just to kind of like balance it out.
Yeah, totally. What have you guys been really into music-wise on this tour? What have you been jamming out to in the car most days when you're traveling around?
I think recently, I love anything Phoebe Bridgers does, and Bright Eyes. So the Oblivion something or another. Yeah, I've been listening to that one. That one's been big on my side.
How about you guys? Anything you're really into this tour? finding some inspiration from, maybe?
I've just been listening to a lot of Unknown Mortal Orchestra.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Kind of like living in that realm for a little bit. I think just I like the feels.
Getting a little weirder.
Yeah, I
totally.
love that. I love what everything they do. So,
Yeah.
They're great.
Anything to add, Daniel?
There's a band out of Chicago called Slow Pulp.
Slow what?
Slow Pulp.
Oh, okay.
Pulp. And
I don't think I know them.
super cool. Really, 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 really cool
Yeah.
stuff. And they just make great music.
Yeah.
They're gonna be huge one day.
Yeah, front woman's really cool. She's a lot of fun to watch.
Have you guys played with them before?
We got to speak on a panel with them at South by Southwest and stuff.
cool.
Yeah.
But then I was after they were already fans, so it was cool to just see her.
I thought they had the best set at South by.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of music this
And you
year.
guys did a couple sets at South by,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, what, 5 in 2 days or 3 days?
Yeah,
that's a
something
lot.
like that. Are there any rituals that you guys usually go through on tour? Like, is there stuff like you have to do every day?
Coffee.
Coffee every morning
Yeah.
makes me feel like I'm at home. Just the process of it.
Yeah.
When we have time, Alex tries to.
I do some yoga. I'm a
do
yoga
yoga.
teacher. In LA,
Oh, you are?
So just like to try to get yoga in whenever I can.
I practice, but I don't teach.
It's nice. I like it. But the hot yoga, which is what I like, kind of dries out my throat, so I can't do it
we
every
learned.
day.
That must be hard to fit in on tour, too.
Yeah, it really is. So I try to. Yeah.
Cool. So you have one more show. You have tonight at the White Eagle, and then you are down in San Francisco tomorrow. What are you looking forward to when you get home, when you're done with it? I mean, 2 more days. Tonight, well, a day and a half, really.
Looking forward to recording. Looking forward to teaching yoga, and looking forward to hanging out with my wife.
Yeah.
Eating food with her, sleeping in the same bed.
Anything you guys are looking forward to most?
EP2, I think it's gonna be good. There's a lot of good energy going into this thing.
Yeah. And then, I mean, lastly, like, you guys have the next EP that you're about to work on. You said Monday, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, less than a
Yes.
week, you're
Right
back
away.
in the studio.
Yeah.
That's right.
What else can we expect from you guys besides the next EP? Is that...
We're gonna roll
Jeez.
into Portland on
Yeah.
a bus.
Yeah, hopefully that'd be cool.
Well, thank you for stopping by.
Thanks,
I mean, it's
Jay.
huge.
Yeah,
It's always a
absolutely.
pleasure to see you guys.
Yeah.
Seen you guys a couple times before. I can't wait for tonight. But I will let you guys do your thing and get to the music.
Sweet, let's do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.